and welcome to the 2022 Student Association Debate on WTOB 10 and WNYO Radio. I am Zac Case, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's event, and I'm alongside Tom Ehrhard, who is running for the president of the SUNY Oswego Student Association for the 2022 academic year. Thomas, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on.
Of course. In addition, for tonight's main event, we'll also be discussing the upcoming vote to approve SUNY Oswego student activity fee. But before we begin, let's discuss the format for tonight's event. We've compiled a list of questions for tonight's debate from students here at SUNY Oswego. We're still accepting them. As the show goes on, you can submit a question on our Instagram page by following us at WTOB10 Oswego. Tom, you'll have about 2 minutes to answer each question before we move on to the next subject. If you're ready, Tom, we can begin.
Good to go.
Cool. Awesome. Our first question are to help students get to know you. Tell us about what your background is and what makes you qualified to be the next SA president.
Well, as you've heard, my name is Thomas Ehrhard. I come from Long Island, New York. I originally came to Oswego because I love the campus and I came here for the German program. I'm currently a politics, philosophy, and economics major with a minor in sustainability studies and German. I think I'd be a good candidate for this because I've served 2 years in student association. I dive headlong into government work like this, anything that has to do with bureaucracy. And additionally, I work with a lot of clubs. I'm very involved on campus. For example, I am a desk candidate at Onondaga Hall, which many of you know and love or loathe. I am also vice president of the History Club. I'm a member of the Model UN Club. I'm also a member of the Sean Cassidy Fan Club, which is an excellent club that focuses on improv comedy. And I'm also a member of the Sustainability Club and the Italian American Heritage Association.
Yeah, you talk about all those clubs, and we'll talk about that more in detail. And really, what is your favorite part about campus life? And give us some of that information about the clubs you're involved in, like you said.
Well, my favorite part about campus life would be the clubs, go figure. A lot of the clubs I've met pretty much all my friends on campus through these organizations. I spend so much time with the clubs, and I just love going to the meetings, learning new things, working with the town, working with clubs.
Yeah, and I'm going to totally agree with you. That's the same thing here. I really enjoy the clubs. And students have been under a lot of stress in the last few years, and I'm sure you've experienced this too. How will you balance the commitments of being an SA president while also being a student here at SUNY Oswego?
Well, for starters, I'm already very involved. Like, I know how to balance, I know how to manage my time. When I did my Eagle Scout project, I had to manage a ton of time with that. I love working for a student association. Like, I go to the office hours. Clubs are, I love like being a part of clubs, like doing any kind of club activities. I also manage my time through having my job at Onondaga Hall, but I'm going to drop that for student association president because I feel that is far more important.
Obviously, that's a priority for you, and of course, you're running and one of our only candidates here at SUNY Oswego. And one of the things I love about going to Oswego is I've been able to meet so many different people here as well. But what can you do as SA president to help increase diversity in clubs and programs offered on campus?
Well, I think the biggest thing we can do is just get more people into the clubs, especially concerning COVID. I came here, I toured the campus in 2019 before COVID happened. While I came to Oswego in the fall of 2020, we were all shut down, most of the classes were online. But now that we're coming out of COVID, as you can see with no masks, hopefully next semester is going to be a lot better. And with that, I want to ensure that students are able to join as many clubs as they want, whenever they want. One of the principles of that is to reserve outdoor spaces for clubs. I want to make it easy for clubs to, let's say, take the outdoor space, take the quad in front of Lanigan Hall, and use that for a club meeting. Then as students walk by, they'll see, hey, that looks like a club I want to join. That's pretty much how we're going to get the word out.
I think that's a solid idea. And now that we've started to talk about yourself and what you find important, what do you find or what do you want to accomplish in office during your time?
As I said before, my biggest thing is to get more students involved in clubs. Any kind of social club, club sports, the Alana orgs, all three of those are very important for life here at SUNY Oswego. It's very important also for the students' mental health. Again, as we come out of COVID, it's kind of depressing, miserable, having online classes, not being able to go out and do stuff. I want next semester to be the semester where everyone comes out, everyone's in a club, everyone's participating in the SUNY Oswego student body.
Yeah, and obviously with all those clubs and organizations, like you said, we're coming out of COVID, so now we can kind of open up. You can go out, get involved, and really become a student here on SUNY Oswego's campus. And now, heading into my next question, how will you work with the next year's vice president to achieve some of those goals you just talked about?
Well, I consider it a process. For example, I consider my platform to be very dynamic. So a student comes up to me, they say, hey, I would like this done. So I'm going to figure out how can I get this done through student association. I'm going to run it over to my vice president, and since I've served in student association for 2 years, I consider I have a very good relationship with most of the other senators. I'll say, hey, here's my recommendation for this kind of bill, and the Senate is going to write said bill, pass it, and we're going to get things done. I'm also going to work with SAPB, which is the Student Association Activities Board or Planning Board, and I want to work with clubs to organize events like that as well.
You talk about that communication line, kind of a follow-up question. How do you think that communication is going to go? How do you think you can improve that communication and maybe develop some of those communication lines?
Well, two things. Firstly, I want to use my connections with the clubs I'm in to develop communication. Like, I want to plan something with the history club to maybe fix up old historic buildings in the town of Oswego itself. I also want to turn my office hours into a form of roundtable where students can come in and they can talk to me about what their issues are, and we'll talk about it, work through it, and figure out how to make Oswego better.
I think those are solid ideas, Tom. And thank you for obviously responding to the questions, having this great conversation. We're going to take a quick break here, but stay with us, and we're coming back with more questions submitted by the students here. And when we return, we'll have more questions. You're watching WTOP 10 and listening on WNYO Radio.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
Our son Arjun was born with cystic fibrosis. CF is a genetic disease that shortens lives. When the foundation was founded in 1955, children with CF rarely lived long enough to attend kindergarten. Today, thanks to the foundation's groundbreaking research, advocacy, and care, some people with CF are attending college, getting married, and starting families. We've made amazing progress, but until a cure is found for all people with CF, we will not stop. Help us add tomorrows. Visit cff.org today.
Is there a danger hiding in your home? Unused opioid medicines could harm your family. Find your unused opioid pills, patches, or syrups and learn how to dispose of them safely at fda.gov/drug disposal.
Driving a truck for 40 years now. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like that trucks can't stop quickly. It takes my 80,000-pound truck 200 yards to come to a complete stop. So I always do my best to give a lot of cushion. It helps when other drivers realize that and do the same. Please give trucks the space we need so we can all stay safe. It's our roads, it's our safety.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to the 2022 Student Association Debate here on WTOV 10 and WNYO Radio. I'm Zac Case alongside Thomas Ehrhard, a sophomore senator running for SA president. Of course, we have our first student-submitted question from Instagram, and Mia wants to know, how do you plan on communicating with the campus community this coming year?
That's a good question. First off, again, I really want to get the word out that Student Association, we're here to help you. First thing, we can do that through the involvement fair. Now, last semester and last year, the involvement fair wasn't as big as we hoped it would be, especially concerning COVID. But this year, I really want to drum up support for Student Association. I could do this through reaching out to students. Before the semester starts, I would like to have the presidents of different clubs contact students and really push Laker life onto these students to make sure they understand there are hundreds of clubs at Oswego, and we really want you to join at least 2 or 3 clubs, get involved on campus.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One other thing, maybe, what do you feel like maybe meeting with those presidents, having those conversations, and asking what support do they need? Do you feel like that's another great idea?
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Again, how I mentioned my roundtables during office hours, I would encourage club presidents, club e-board members to come in, have a chat with me, tell me what they need, what they want, what they want me to do, and through that, I feel I can help the Student Association outreach.
Yeah, we talked about yourself and some of your goals for SA if you're elected. Now let's dive into some of those issues that maybe we need to talk about. How will you resolve issues that clubs may have with SA, and what if there's budget disputes? Budget
disputes are always an issue. They will always be an issue. However, I feel budgets seem to be increasing. From the clubs I've talked to, they're getting more and more of their budget requests fulfilled. Obviously, that's not the case with all clubs, which is unfortunate, but it happens. This is because there's more students on campus. More students are paying their student activity fee, and as you know, the student activity fee got decimated in 2020 and 2021 because there really weren't that many students on campus, which means almost no one was paying the student activity fee. And I feel SA can always help these clubs prepare events should they need events to be prepared. And remember, I must urge the clubs, the more students they have, the more funding they will likely get.
And what do you say to those smaller clubs that may not get a lot of funding? How can you support them with maybe some of those budget cuts?
I'm giving those clubs an ear. For example, I'm a member of many of these small clubs, like the Model UN Club, 6, 7 members. History Club, unfortunately, I have like 14 or 15 members. I encourage smaller clubs especially to come to these roundtables because that's when I can hear them. Because a lot of these clubs, for example, Philosophy Club, I don't really know too much about them, which is unfortunate because it seems like a wonderful club. However, they have so few members that not a lot of people hear about them.
Yeah, sounds good. And now, as things stand right now, some are concerned about the chemistry between clubs. With potential drama coming in between, there seems to be a disconnect. If, at the end of the day, we're all students participating in the clubs, how do you go about strengthening those relationships between some of the clubs?
The best thing I can do to strengthen relationships is through communication. Again, the Student Association Supreme Court is always there to resolve issues between clubs, but if I can have dialogue with these clubs, if I can plan events with these clubs, I feel like these clubs will get along a lot better because that means their members are going to mingle with each other, their clubs are going to mix. I'd be a member of History Club and Model UN Club, and those clubs would do things together, so it's less likely that there's going to be any kind of drama or tension between the clubs.
Yeah, what do you say to clubs that maybe want to get together and do a joint meeting or a joint activity? What do you say to that?
Go for it. Talk to Student Association. We can help you in any way we can. And if you really want to do something, go for it, tell us, and we will work with you to make sure the club can be the best it can be.
Yeah, it's always great having that support from SA, especially with clubs. Now, speaking about the budget, some clubs have started to get responses to their budget requests for next year, and some clubs could see cuts. What do you have to say to a club whose budget is being cut when Ozfest has a budget of roughly $200,000?
It is unfortunate, again, that a lot of clubs don't get their entire budget needs, but Ozfest is one of the biggest things Oswego does. It brings in so many students. I've heard of Ozfest before I heard of SUNY Oswego, mainly from my friends that are already in college. But with Ozfest, students hear about Ozfest, they see all these wonderful singers, actors, dancers, all these awesome events that are broadcast throughout the state and the nation, amongst other SUNY schools, and they see Oswego. And they say, maybe I do want to go to SUNY Oswego. And as they look at that, they see more and more of the campus, which in turn leads to more students on campus, which leads to more students joining these clubs.
What do you say to really the students that maybe don't participate in Ozfest but are in those clubs, and those clubs are seeing those budget cuts but don't really go to Ozfest? Do you think it's a lose-lose if you don't go to Ozfest and see those budget cuts?
Not necessarily. I think, again, budget cuts are hard. My clubs I'm in have faced budget cuts. It's not the best thing. But they also understand there's a limited amount of money that can go around. But these clubs, again, they can come to SA and we can work with them to help them do whatever they want to do, whatever they need. And again, I encourage them to have dialogue and communication with other clubs that are similar to them.
And now kind of transitioning, how do you feel the conversation's been with the current president, and what have you been learning from them and learning from the current leadership?
I feel like some clubs have had issues with our current president, especially in the first semester. However, I feel the best way, again, we can resolve these disputes is through communication and actually planning events with clubs. For example, I want to do something with the Alana orgs next semester, maybe have an Alana dinner, because the Alana orgs are some of the largest and most important organizations in SUNY Oswego, and I want every student to know what they are and their contributions to this campus.
Okay, sounds good, Tom. Obviously, thank you for the responses. We're going to go to a quick break here on WTOB 10 and WNY Radio. When we return, we'll have more conversation with Tom.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Welcome back to the 2022 presidential debate here on WTOP 10 and WNY Radio. I'm Zac Case alongside Thomas Ehrhard. Thanks for joining me once again. And of course, let's dive back into these questions. And my first question is going to be something new that you want to bring to campus. Is there a new event or a new activity that you would like to see next year here in the fall?
Sure, I'd say it's a few new activities, plural. I want to make it easier for students to actually be outside and enjoy the nature of Oswego. I mean, we're on one of the best freshwater lakes in the world, Lake Ontario. Mm-hmm. I want to make it easier for students to go down to the lake, be active, and really just enjoy the nature. To do that, I propose we set up campfires all around campus with Adirondack chairs. Now, I know we have that one campfire near Mary Walker Health Center, but it's always perpetually wet, and the benches there are old if they're still there at all. What I want to do is I want to have campfires, chimneys, fire pits, all around campus for students to go over there. They interact with other students. They really just communicate with each other, and everyone's happier, especially if you're outside sitting in Adirondack chairs, kicking back.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and that's something where you can bring the community together, bring the campus together, and obviously people can meet more individuals. And now really heading into that, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, mental health has seen a rise all across the nation. And what's one thing that you want to see on this campus that can help students with mental health?
Well, unfortunately, at the moment, we only have one certified mental health counselor. I'd like to see more of that. I want to see at least 3 or 4 counselors, again, at the very least. I want students to be able to go into Mary Walker and say, hey, I'm having problems. Can someone please talk to me? I don't want to make it seem like, oh, you have to wait 5 days for an appointment. I want walk-in hours that students can go in, get their problems resolved, obviously problems SA can't fix, and just be better. Not be better, but just have a better mindset going out of it.
And feel better.
Yeah.
And you talk about Mary Walker providing those services, SUNY Oswego, and obviously free services as well. What is one way Mary Walker can kind of improve those? And obviously you said hire new staff, but do you think students can get to Mary Walker and get those services easily?
Unfortunately not. For example, when I was in my freshman year, I didn't even know what Mary Walker Health Center was. It was only until sophomore year I found out, oh, hey, that's actually a really cool thing Oswego does. I feel like not a lot of students hear about it. I want to see posters, at least in the Point, in residence halls, that say, hey, if you have a problem with mental health, you can come down to Mary Walker Health Center and we'll help you.
Yeah, and I think Mary Walker is a great place, and I'm going to be honest with you, when I was a freshman, it was in Hewitt Union, so it was a little strange, and now it's back on the shores of Lake Ontario like you talked about. And you bring up that nature aspect. Do you think Rice Creek, obviously a huge part about campus and the nature aspect, do you think that's also available for students to go to?
Absolutely. I love Rice Creek. I go there. I went there in the winter. I go there in the spring. I did a snowshoe walk a couple of times. Phenomenal. Again, it's hard for students to know it's there. It's 2 miles off campus, and the buses aren't too helpful in telling you, hey, Rice Creek is here. I want to organize some kind of student association-led activity in Rice Creek, perhaps weekly hikes that we give out to a club, like this environmental club, sustainability club, Go Green. Those clubs can actually improve their image and help other students by organizing hikes. And of course, SA will help them do that if they want to.
Yeah, you talk about really getting that information out there, and obviously a huge part of getting that information out there is social media. And one thing I wanted to bring up is, what do you think about social media? How can it affect clubs and organizations? And do you think it's a tool that allows students to find those clubs and those groups?
Absolutely. Let's be honest, Laker Life, it's not the best website to navigate. The UI is a little messy. I want to use Student Association's Instagram platform, its Snapchat platform, to showcase clubs and what they do. I want Student Association to be there to help the clubs, not lord over them.
Do you think SA is doing a good job using social media right now, or is there a way that they can improve how they use social media to get out to those students?
I think SA is doing a good job right now. We have an excellent social media coordinator. But again, I feel there's always room for improvement where we can really push these clubs to say, hey, when you're planning an event, come to us and we'll help you drum up support for that event and get publicity for it.
We talked a lot about student media organizations and clubs like history, like the Sustainability Club. Now let's talk about club sports. Obviously a huge part on campus. Not a lot of people can say they're NCAA Division III athlete, but some people can still play the sport they love if that's opportunities there. What do you think about club sports, and how are you going to support those teams that need that extra support or need the support during budget cuts? What do you say to them?
Club sports are criminally underappreciated, I feel, especially coming out of COVID. I know my roommate's part of a club sports team. I have a myriad of friends that are on club sports. And I feel when students are part of club sports, their mental health improves because they're out there, they're exercising, they're having a better mindset. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you would like to put it, a student association as of next year won't control club sports to the extent it has before. Their budget's going to be run by another organization. I believe it's Res Life, but I could be wrong on that. With that, club sports will have more autonomy to do what they want to do. Obviously, they can still come to us and we can help them in any way they need help. Not necessarily budget-wise, but publicity, getting the word out. But I do want to make it easier for students to join club sports. I want club sports to show the students that we exist and we want you to join.
Yeah, and I'm guessing maybe Campus Life might be taking over the fee or the budget for those club sports.
I believe so.
Before we go tonight, we're going to want to talk about the upcoming vote for the student activity fee. The student activity fee pays for countless services here on campus. This includes student clubs, public transportation, and services at Mary Walker Health Center like we talked about earlier. Students are encouraged to help vote if they would like to keep the fee mandatory or optional. Students are charged $120 per semester to fund these services. You can vote to keep or remove the fee on Laker Life this Thursday and Friday. WTOP and WNYO are particularly funded by the student activity fee. And now, Tom, you're currently a sophomore here at SUNY Oswego, and last 2 years you've been quite different than normal. Do you think being an underclassman will be an advantage or disadvantage for you heading into next year?
I feel like being an underclassman would actually be an advantage because I'm still learning, I'm still growing as a student here at SUNY Oswego, and with that I have my dynamic campaign platform, which means students will come up to me, they recommend something. That's an excellent idea. I will absolutely consider it. I will do my best to make sure that idea works. If I'm a junior or senior, my mindset's kind of already set on like what I want to do. I'm writing my thesis or I'm finishing up my thesis. As a junior, I feel like I have more flexibility to actually fulfill my role as a student association president.
Yeah, and obviously being a sophomore, you have 2 more years to really give the campus what you want to give it. And what would you like students to know before we end the discussion here tonight? What's your final thoughts?
I'd like them to know I would be a president that focuses on communication between clubs, dialogue with clubs, and I want these clubs to succeed. Again, I'm a member of a myriad of these organizations. I know people that are part of club sports, other organizations, and I want these organizations to improve under my tenure as student association president. I also want students to get outside, get active, and just enjoy nature. Again, SUNY Oswego is one of the most beautiful campuses in the state, perhaps the whole Northeast, and I want students to appreciate that, again, through fire pits, Adirondack chairs, the ease of accessing outdoor spaces to use for club events.
Well, Tom, and you talk about all those great ideas, and I'm going to be honest with you, I really like where you are going to take SA next year, and I really thank you for joining me tonight here and having that discussion. Obviously, it's a huge conversation and a big part of campus life here at SUNY Oswego, and you're really going to bring and change lives here on campus, and I wish you the best of luck in your election coming up, and thank you for coming and listening and talking with me.
Well, thank you for having me on.
So for Zac Case and all of the crew here on WTOP 10 and WNYO, you can vote for the SA debate this Thursday and Friday on Laker Life, and want to thank you for coming and thank you for tuning into the broadcast. Have a great night.
We've been marinating chicken in all sorts of liquids for 24 hours. These are vitamins and minerals and things that you need, nutrients. The chicken speedy is a staple of our culture.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Good evening and welcome to WTOP 10 Nightly News.
For the governor race with a strong lead, former Governor Andrew Cuomo is...
Barlow announced the completion of a large building mural in downtown Oswego.
The renovations on the Hewitt Union building, turning it into the new Hewitt Hall.
And as we move into tomorrow, that rain is going to be in our area.
Moving to the Diamond now, as Sweet Caroline got a lot sweeter last night.